Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tech Informist. This is Monday, May the 4th, 2015. And, I cannot go without saying, May the 4th be with you. You just can't go without saying that on today, May the 4th, 2015. This is episode 65, I believe, of the Tech Informist. My name is Kevin Harvell. I'm joined by Brad Whiteside. Brad, how are you doing today?
Pretty good, Kevin. May the
Happy
4th be with
Monday.
you. Yeah, happy Monday as well.
Yes. Hard to believe. Weekend went fast. Too
It
fast.
flew. We went out to Schlafly and enjoyed the weather on Friday afternoon. It was a very nice afternoon to have lunch on the patio.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the weather here in St. Louis has been beautiful.
Really
And
has.
other than, of course, the allergy pollen issues that
Yes,
majority of people I know are dealing with right now.
that would be me.
Yeah. And apparently me too. They always say you develop more allergies as you get older. I'm finding that out. So, moving on. There's, we did a build recap this last Friday, and of course, Microsoft is not done talking because, well, right now they are in Chicago for Ignite, and that's, a whole other conference. And there's been a lot of things already coming out so far this morning from Satya Nadella coming out and talking, and Julia White just getting off stage. Man.
Yes, so if you're a Microsoft fan, hold on to your britches because more stuff's coming out.
Yes. Speaking of Microsoft, and if you are a Microsoft fan and you have not heard of this show, the MS Mobile Show will be recording its live episode at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. And so check that out. That's hosted by Vernon E.L. Smith and David Winfan Kimball. And today's guest is Robert Sherbert, Cheeky Taurus. So some of you may remember him from the Develop Ambassadors program. But he's going to be joining them today to recap build. So make sure to check out msmobileshow.com/live, and you can get all the schedule and episodes and watch and join the live chat much as you can here at Tech Informist. So for those of you who do not know, you can come over to the techinformist.com/live, and you can watch and join the live chat. If you have anything that you would like us to discuss, you can always pop that into the chat room, and we'll try our best to fit it in. And with so many things going on, we can always push a story or something back to another episode if you guys really want to discuss something in particular. We want to reward those of you that stop by our live chat for taking the time, which we do really appreciate it. So thetechinformist.com/live. So moving on, Brad, I believe you're going to lead off today with free apps and some tracking issues here.
Yeah, so for those of you who might be a little concerned about privacy or whatnot, this is just something to keep in mind that that I saw over the weekend. And so MIT and I want to say somewhere in Europe, France, in France, had band together and found out that there are a few apps that are free in the Google Play Store that don't necessarily, when they're asking for your permissions on the phone, they don't necessarily tell you that they're tracking what you do. And it's just a little case study that they did that showed that a lot of these apps are actually tracking every place that you go. Even if you're trying to block the app or what have you, which if you have the app and you're using it, I don't see why you would block it. So that's silly. But anywho, it's just something that I saw that maybe something to keep in mind. Like definitely, watch who you're getting apps from, and if it's not necessarily someone you trust, maybe you should do a little research before you download it. Thankfully, though, the MIT is coming up with a app to combat this, and it's called No Such App. And this will monitor outgoing traffic from the user's phone, revealing exactly which external sites your apps are attempting to contact. So that's good news that somebody's, cares enough to make an app that you can track where your information is going. What do you think, Kevin?
It's kind of interesting. Now looking at the article here on Gizmodo, and there's a list of 14 apps showing there, and I don't know if that's just a generic.
I think that's just a generic thing, just because they say they're all free, and it was just I believe that's just a screenshot.
Yeah,
I would guess.
I mean, Pocket Cast is not free; it's a $4 app. Airbnb, I mean, really, those are I've heard of Androidify, and then you got the Star Wars card game.
Right. Yeah. So I think this was just kind of grabbed from the store, just to kind of one of the little pictures for the
just
the article
showing what it looks like.
Yeah.
It's like, so I don't remember Pocket Cast really needing to know my location.
Well, right, and this more includes like the free apps that.
Yeah. I can understand Airbnb needing to know your location because, well, you're trying to find a room to rent or a place to rent.
Right.
Gotta know your location to see what's available in your area.
I found this interesting that they did this on a Samsung Galaxy S3 with Android 4.1.2. I'm guessing that's Jelly Bean?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so they downloaded over 2,000 free apps from all 25 categories and then launched each app on a Samsung Galaxy S3. It's interesting. I mean, I know there's always, discussion about permissions and some apps giving too many permissions, and it's just kind of like, but then again, it's like the terms of service when you install any software, you buy any product, nobody reads that stuff, but
and most of the time I highly doubt it.
Yeah. So, but with apps and things like that, as long as you're getting your app from a legitimate developer. I mean, somebody like Shifty Jelly who develops Pocket Cast, for example. Yeah, they're a legit developer. That's not some little small time thing. Or whoever's going to create the Airbnb app, you would think, well, that's going to be on the up and up. But some of these random apps that may pop up in the suggested or related sections when you're looking at an app.
I feel like this has to deal with a lot of like data mining.
Yeah.
Like they don't necessarily want you to know that they're tracking you because they want you just to act normal in case you had read all the stuff that they are, tracking or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like it's just kind of like I don't know, a behind the back tracking thing that not necessarily terrible, but just something to think about.
Yeah. But it's kind of interesting, though, that it says that all in all, the 2,000 apps in question connected to a whopping 250,000 URLs across almost 2,000 top-level domains. And most of the apps were minor offenders, only trying to connect to a handful of ad or tracking sites. So, just always something to keep in mind when you're grabbing those free apps, because free, you're giving something up to get something for free.
Yep. And usually it's data, precious data.
Yeah. So, like I mentioned at the opening of the show, we discussed on Friday, mostly we covered build, and we had a guest pop in, JJ. JJ Hammond joined us for a brief period of time.
And clear the air for the people or for people like us who are not necessarily developers.
Yes. And so we did not get a chance to really talk about LG too much. Last Tuesday, LG released more official information of the LG G4, which is their next successor to the popular LG G line. I guess you would say the G2 and G3, which have both been really, really great devices. My wife, my son, my dad all have LG G2s, and JJ's got an LG G3.
I've got an LG G Flex.
Yep. So some good stuff there as well. So, I mean, looking at the specs list on this.
What does the specs list say?
I'm actually trying to find it again. I know I had it up. There we go. So you're getting the Snapdragon 808. Now, most people think, when it comes to, the G Flex 2 that you're using has the Snapdragon 810. But there's been a lot of discussion whether or not that is is that chip running hot? It's got throttling issues where it'll make the device perform slower than it really should, because once it reaches a certain thermal temperature, it wants to, scale things back so the phone doesn't overheat and completely crash. It's going to be running the latest version of Android 5.1. It's a 5.5-inch Quad HD display, 32 gig storage, SD card, micro SD card support, 3 gig RAM, 16 meg rear facing camera with a 1.8 aperture, and
Wow, look at that front facing.
yeah, and optical imaging stabilization. And yes, like you just mentioned, an 8 megapixel front facing camera with a 2.0 aperture. Now,
That's a selfie camera if I've ever seen one.
yeah, so aperture is always good for, low light and, taking nice fast photos. And here's another nice thing, 3,000 milliamp hour removable battery. So for everybody that were complaining about the Galaxy S6 and S6,
this kind of solves all those problems, because you've got micro SD expansion, you've got a removable battery,
yeah, and a reasonably sized removable battery. It's not, a little 2,500 milliamp hour battery.
Yeah, 3,000. That's where all phones should start now.
Yeah, it's looking really good. Looks like it's going to come in a handful of colors: metallic gray, ceramic white, shiny gold, and you can also get a leather back in black, brown, red, sky blue, beige, or yellow.
Ceramic white. That interests me.
Yeah, and, I've seen some of the pictures online, from Android Central. They were obviously there in New York taking a look at it, getting hands-on and stuff with it. So we got a nice link in the show notes where you can go get all the information that you want about what is a device that I'm really excited to try out.
Yeah, I really do want to see this device. I'm a big fan of LG, and I'm interested to see what kind of crapware comes on their phone. If they scaled back a little bit at all, or if it's kind of the same old, same old. And I wonder if they have an IR blaster like on the G Flex.
I want to say the G3 had one.
Yeah, so I would almost guess that this does. In fact, I think it's that little, if you're looking on the Android Central, it's the picture of the back of the phone. I think it's that little black dot next to the camera.
It could be. I actually know that's for the laser autofocus.
Oh, fancy.
So the LG G3,
right.
the G3's got the laser autofocus as well.
That's cool.
Yeah, the G3 camera was fantastic. The G2 camera is, a solid camera in its own right. So, yeah, this might be.
Yeah, and you were talking about low light with the aperture. Just to give an idea, for any of you who has had or seen a 920 in action, the 920 uses a 2.0 aperture, whereas this will be using a 1.8, and the lower is usually the better for the low light.
Yes, lower is better. Yeah, so it's shaping up spec-wise to be a very, very nice device, and of course it'll be available on all major carriers. So.
Yeah, this looks like a solid phone to check out. If you have liked Samsung in the past, but maybe this new one kind of rubs you wrong because you can't expand with micro SD cards, and you like to load it up with either movies or pictures or music or what have you.
Yeah. Now, with availability, it's not official. We're still waiting to hear from all the carriers of when they're going to actually have it available. But we're looking at probably a June release.
Yeah, it launches in Korea first, and then I guess it'll launch over here in sometime this summer.
Yeah, more than likely, I think in June is what they're shooting for. It's probably mid to late June.
Yeah.
All right, so I believe you are up next to talk about some new devices coming soon.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of rumors flying around about a lot of different devices. The first one that caught my interest that we were all expecting to see it build is Microsoft reportedly is releasing the Surface Pro 4 in mid-May. Now, these are all rumor-based, but I figured, it'd be a nice little discussion.
Mhm.
Seems like everything is going to be the same, minus they'll have a 5th-gen Broadwell processor, and it seems like it might be a little bit thinner as well, which is interesting. But I mean, other than that, it seems like almost the same device, unless it's got one of those new fancy cameras in it for the Microsoft Hello
Uh,
service. And then the next one, or next ones, are the rumored 940 and 940 XL. And those come with, let's see, we'll start with the 940. It's a 5.2 Quad HD, Qualcomm based, 6-core, 3 gigs of RAM, 32 gigabyte in storage, micro SD card, 20 megapixel rear camera, 5 megapixel front facing, 3,000 milliamp battery. Excellent, excellent. Everything's pretty much the same on the higher end one, except for it's got a 5.7-inch Quad HD with a 8-core processor.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
and
it's
a
like
slightly bigger battery.
Yes, yeah, that battery there. And I know there's been a lot of discussion in our meetup group on Facebook about the size of the display. What's really a good size: 5.7, 5.5.
Oh, I'm glad to see them doing 2 different sizes, because to be honest, like 5.7 isn't for everybody. And it's for me. I'm definitely going to get that one. But I'm glad they're doing like a 5.2, and then there's been new rumors about like a 4.7. So I think they're going to have all their bases covered, which is good, because I mean, I see a lot of people with just the normal 4.7 iPhone. In fact, my fiance has one, so that's a good place to start, and it's a good size to compete with. Also, Microsoft apparently during build, during the Hello presentation, like the private presentation, they confirmed that Windows Phone will come. One of these Windows phones will come with the iris scanner for the Microsoft Hello feature. So that's really interesting. It would, to me, it would almost have to work like just really good, like magic. Like when you're signing in with your Kinect, for this to be kind of a wow thing. Because right now it's a little gimmicky. What do you think, Kevin?
Yeah, yeah. I'm not sure about all the this facial and iris scanning and stuff like that. I'm completely fine with what Touch ID and
Yeah, I'm okay with the Touch ID too. I almost hope that they have that as well, and that way it gives people an option rather than just having the one feature. That'd be a little bit of a damper.
I mean, before really trying out Touch ID, 'cause I mean, I know it came out on the 5S first, and obviously then it went to the 6, and it's going to be around for a while. I never realized just how cool and nice it is to have on a device until I actually used an iPhone with that on there. It's like simple. You touch your home button and boom, your phone is unlocked.
Yeah, it's relatively fast too.
Yeah, it's extremely fast, and I rarely ever get it to where it says didn't scan properly or something like that. It's
well, and I believe you can go into the settings and train it to like use different parts of your thumb, so that way it'll recognize your thumb easier. So that's pretty cool too.
Yeah, I mean, I've got it set up to recognize both multiple fingers, so no matter which hand I pick it up with, it will unlock. And God, it's so nice. When you're downloading a new app, you barely see the enter your password flash on the screen before it recognizes your thumb. You go ahead and hit.
Yeah, that is really cool. You don't have to type in your password every time. And I've got some pretty long, just off the wall passwords that mean absolutely nothing. They're just a bunch of numbers and characters and such. And just having a Touch ID makes it so much easier, which is why I think Microsoft's going with the Hello feature, because they've seen it work very well with the iPhone. And I think that's where we're heading. Like, we're moving away from passwords and we need biometric security.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a lot more secure right now.
Yeah. I know
go ahead.
Do what?
Go ahead.
I know with the S6 Edge, using its kind of, smart unlock or touch ID kind of functionality, it is not as accurate and does not really recognize my thumb. You've got to be more perfect, more accurate, I
Uh,
guess would be the better term for that, in order to get your device to unlock. And sometimes it asks you to, swipe up on the screen, or then it's like you never know what it's going to ask for, how it wants you to actually unlock your device. So kind of interesting.
and speaking of Apple, there's also a little rumor in the works that they're talking about the MacBook, or not MacBook, the iPad Plus or iPad Pro or whatever they're going to call it.
Mhm.
And there's two sizes that they're thinking it's going to be. It's like a 12.9 or a 12.2. Does this interest you at all, Kevin?
No, not really. I mean, we had an iPad Air, for the last year, and it took forever to sell because I just, it when it comes to iOS or something like that, we had the iPad, and then I tried getting an iPhone 4S. And I'm like, the 4S experience was terrible, but yet, I want to be able to try out, iOS apps because, everything gets released on iOS first. And we thought, well, let's get an iPad. But since it was Wi-Fi only, it's kind of tough to me to want to. I had really no desire to use it, so
All right.
finally sold it. So then I bought the iPhone 6 and been using it as my daily driver since, and been really happy with it so far. And I just think it's a better experience just on the iPhone. And I personally, for myself, I have no need for an iPad.
Yeah, I don't either really, because I'd lean more towards the Microsoft camp.
Yeah.
In fact, my fiance doesn't. She would rather have a MacBook because she's more of a physical keyboard kind of person. So,
Mhm.
but
Like,
I mean, you said you prefer your iPhone more. Do you kind of wish you would have got the Plus now?
yeah, just mainly because of the battery life. Pretty much everything else is the
Yeah.
same. You didn't necessarily need the bigger screen, but the bigger screen is always nice. But yeah, for battery life especially, and for a slightly bump in camera technology, it would have been nice. But man,
Yeah,
this
because I believe they use the image stabilization in the
yeah,
Plus.
yeah, but the 6, the camera on it, God, it's fabulous.
Uh, well, Apple's always been known for just it gets out of the box and it just works. You can point, click, it takes great pictures. There's no like, you know, zooming in, or there's no like focusing in. It does it so well and so fast. Like they're getting so good at it.
Yeah, I mean, I went to a car show this week. We went down to a family event down in Jonesboro, Arkansas, which is actually where Windows Phone developer Daniel Gary, he hails from that area. Him and his development company Gateway Apps are actually in that area, but he was not around, and I didn't try to set up a time to see him. But no, I was down there taking pictures of classic cars and things like that. And like again, I need to get these photos shared out because it took some good photos, and I took a couple comparison shots with M9 from HTC. Just kind of to see, and what I did notice was the iPhone, the colors were more, just sitting in a chair. I just kind of took a photo of trees and in the sky. The blues were a more like overdone blue on the iPhone, but the HTC, it actually looked more like what I was actually seeing.
So
Where
more
it's
like
not
a
like
realistic color instead of
blue.
oversaturated.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not saying it was like a gray, but it was just a kind of a pale blue, as opposed to what the iPhone was bringing, a real nice deeper blue.
Hmm.
So just settings to play with as well. I
Yep.
I do think the this new iPad, they're talking about this iPad Pro. I think it sounds. I mean, it sounds great because they're wanting to put in that touch, force touch kind of in the display and everything that they put in with the new. Actually, I mean, the Apple Watch has it, and the It has that functionality within its trackpad.
So this sounds funny to say, but do you think that this is all too late because of the Surface being so well perceived by customers? And I mean, it's kind of geared towards, the average person that would need a computer during their normal workday. I mean, do you think
Um,
that people would go for an iPad instead of a MacBook?
I mean, depending on a person's use case, I mean, I can see, that certain segment that, relies on the iPad now, and it's, great use for schools and things like that, where, or, your parents or something, they just push a button, turns on, you log in, tap an icon, app opens up instead of opening up a web browser, navigating to Facebook or navigating to your email. You just use the
I guess I
specific
wonder
apps.
if this is maybe too big of a size for Apple, because most of those people that use the iPads, they're a much smaller device than any of the Surfaces,
Right.
and they're a lot easier to hold, I think. So I would wonder if this would be. I mean, the Surface Pro. It's not cumbersome. It's just compared to your iPad Mini and your regular iPad Air and what have you, it's bigger. So I just wonder if there is a market for this still.
Well, I think if Apple's going to make it, they feel there's a market for it,
That's
and
true. And
they're
let's
not.
be honest, Apple can sell just about anything.
Yeah, and I think it'll do fine. Actually, I'm actually thinking I'd probably have more use for this iPad Pro than I would an iPad.
Oh, okay.
So I think it'll do really well overall.
Kind of excited to see that come out, just to see what they put into it. If they do have some kind of keyboard attachment or something to try to compete with the Surface.
I think they will. I mean, more than likely it'll just be a Bluetooth connected keyboard, based on their prior history. But
Yeah, just even with their design language, they don't like a lot of ports and
no,
whatnot. They try to keep it simple.
clean lines that
Yeah,
are all nice in a straight line, and yeah, that's definitely the thing about Apple.
I could see like a
Design device.
one of those. You know how in the store they have those like foldable keyboard, or not keyboards, but screen protector deals that protect the front of the screen. You can fold it up, and then it becomes a stand. I could see them having something like that, but then have a Bluetooth keyboard into that or something.
Yeah. I'm sure they'll figure something out. So I guess they'll give more information at WDC.
And when is WDC? That's June, right?
June or July. I have to double check on
I want to
that.
say it's early June.
I think it's WWDC.
Oh, right.
2015. Thanks to the power of Google, takes place June 8th through 12th. Actually,
There we go.
about a month away.
Yep.
Man,
Already.
this year's flying.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's all I can say. Real quick, Tiny mentions in the chat talking about the Galaxy 5 and its, fingerprint scan. Yeah, from what I remember from that, it just, gosh, and even that on, I think it was the Note 3 or the Note 4, it just was not very responsive and not very good to use as your main method of unlocking your device, from what I remember. But I think they've done better, because now you don't have to really swipe your thumb on the button. You can just set it on there, kind of like Touch ID.
Hmm.
And I think that works a lot better. But with the design, since Apple uses a circle design versus kind of like an oval, kind of a mashed oval for Samsung.
Yeah, I've always felt that kind of weird that it was an oval.
Yeah, the Apple actually, it's more suitable for fingerprint scanning.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's actually going to see your fingerprint instead of just a chunk. But I'm not the ones that come up with this interesting technology.
Well, speaking of Samsung, what about your next story?
Yeah, so Samsung is going to be working with Samsonite. They've teamed up to create satellite tracked suitcases. Now, as we move forward in the future and the Internet of Things, where everything's connected, and I've noticed this year, as I've traveled more than I typically normally have. I've flown a lot more than I have in the last few years. Keeping up with your luggage can be kind of a pain in the butt sometimes. But what this will do, it's going to use GPS, and it's going to track the luggage location. It'll check in, whenever, obviously, when your plane lands, I guess, and you connect back, you'll be able to get a notification. Yeah, hey, your luggage was on the plane with you. You don't have to worry that it was left where you just left. They didn't leave it behind. So
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah, just knowing that it's in the same airport as you, if it's quote unquote lost, is kind of nice. Knowing it's at least in the same state or country rather.
Oh yeah.
And
People that travel and the luggage doesn't make it across the ocean with you, that is, I cannot even imagine how frustrating that would be.
oh, that would drive me nuts.
Yeah.
I couldn't stand that.
I mean, in all the years that I've flown, me and my wife, we've only had one incident where, her luggage was forgotten. And thankfully it was on the return flight. So, she was back home here in St. Louis, and the luggage somehow ended up in a different city. That's tolerable, especially if you don't have anything really important, if it's just clothes and stuff like that. And the airline delivered it to our house the next day. I think it was actually on a Sunday. They drove it all the way out to our house.
Nice.
The only incident we've ever had with luggage.
Yeah, my family, I think, has had a few incidents, but nothing that couldn't be solved. Kind of the same case scenario.
Yeah.
They, lose it, and takes them a day or so to find it, and then they drive it out to you.
Yeah. No, it's good. I mean, I think they're getting better, and I just, the whole logistics to all that is, man, couldn't imagine trying to do all that when you've got thousands and thousands of little pieces of luggage in your airport, moving from terminals to the baggage claims, and just, but no, this way at least you'll be able to know, via your smartphone, hey, app, bing, hey, it's here. So that's good.
Yeah, definitely. I wonder if that could help find it as well. Because I mean, sure, they have to actually go in the back and find it, but I mean, I wonder if that helps them find it. They don't have to search, at another airport or whatever. You could just be like, hey, I have this app. It tracks my, suitcase. It's here. I know it's here because the GPS says it is. So it's might narrow down the search.
Yeah, it's just a matter of finding. I mean, in case a luggage tag gets ripped off, I mean, it's just a sticker, essentially. I mean, they're fairly strong stickers, but it doesn't mean that, it can't catch on something, and then they don't have a sticker to scan the barcode to say, yeah, it's here. At least this way you'll know. Yeah, according to my phone, it's in the airport somewhere. Please find it. Anything else going on?
Well, we'll want to talk about the Pocket Cast for Windows Phone?
Yes.
So I have been using the stock podcast app for Windows Phone because it syncs across my devices. I don't have to go back and re-add the podcast every time I go back and forth between devices. And I know with Pocket Cast, you can kind of do the same thing. I haven't figured out how to do that yet, but the app itself is great.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I love it. And I think, and I correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you can play a podcast and then queue up other podcasts after that.
Yeah, and it's called Play Next.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that feature. And by the way, the whole setting time to either rewind or fast forward is amazing.
Yeah, the fact that they allow you to customize that time, because I think by default it's 45 seconds, but if you just want to be able to skip ahead 30 seconds.
Yeah, I changed it to 30 on my end.
Yeah, you can completely adjust that to where if you just want it to be 5 seconds ahead, you can. So
Yeah,
it is a great app, and the developers at Shifty Jelly, they will be updating this app, I believe, on a regular basis. I mean, I'm using it on a Windows 10 device. I'm using it on my 1520 with Windows 10. And
You brave soul.
I know it's just the way I am. JJ calls me a glutton for punishment because I throw
Anything new and
I
not
throw
tested.
reviews, and it's like I just really do. But I'm steering clear of anything really on my Mac. Trying out OS X, all these betas that they.
Oh, right. Uh-huh.
I'm not doing that on this machine. One, because I'm not really as familiar with Apple's OS as I am with Windows. But yeah, I'm still waiting on a good build to load up on the Surface Pro, and I probably shouldn't because every time I do, I instantly revert back.
Yeah, I don't know. That any of that desktop stuff really bothers me. I just can't put it on my computer. I've already had enough messing around with getting everything back on my computer and working and up and running again.
Yeah,
I'll just wait.
Yeah. So, but no, with Pocket Cast, it's $4, but I've got it on Android, I've got it on Windows Phone. I haven't bought it yet on iPhone. I've just been using the iTunes or the podcast app on here for that. But
so, how do you sync it across devices?
Because you've got to set up an account, and
okay.
So then, whenever you log in to the app, with your credentials, it just brings everything up.
Now, do I have to go to their website, or can I do it in the app?
You can do it in the app.
Okay.
My 1520 is downstairs. Otherwise, I kind of walk through it. I can't remember if the layout's a little different on Windows Phone than the Android version. We can play with that on Thursday if you'd like. If you haven't figured it out by then.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'd definitely be checking that out because that's one of the main reasons I've been using the stock one for Windows, because it syncs, like I said, with all my devices. If I add it on one, it'll be on the other.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a big plus in my book.
Yeah, Pocket Casts does that, and whenever Windows Central posted their article saying, "Hey, it's released," one of the developers, I guess he was using the handle Rusty Shelf or something like that in the comments. I mean, there they were right there commenting and answering questions and feedback and taking feedback and
be interested to see if they release a universal app for Windows. That would be excellent because I would buy it again for my desktop.
Yeah, I kind of think with the update, it in a future update it will. I think it's built for it with that as part of the roadmap.
Right.
Forward, they want to do it, so they just want to make sure that the demand is there before they devote more resources to do that. Because there's still a small group of developers. But
another cool thing about the app is, for somebody like me who's limited on data, you can set up to only download podcasts on Wi-Fi or just streaming only if you have unlimited. You can also have them erased as soon as you listen to them. So you're not, occurring a bunch of room and storage. Yeah, and you're not killing your storage. So that's also a really cool feature. They just thought of everything. I just feel like they really did.
Yeah, delete when played, when play is completed. And I don't like my podcast apps to automatically download new episodes. And
I'm more of a streaming person because I guess I don't like giving up that space regardless. And sometimes I don't get to certain podcasts for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Just because
account, I've got like 90 something podcasts that I follow. Obviously I don't listen to them all because it's kind of,
right.
All I would be doing is listening.
But it's a very good app, and if you have any smartphone now, it's on there, so you should definitely get it and check it out.
It's very, very worthwhile, and the developers, they support I mean, with Android, they're updating it like seems like once a week, sometimes twice a week. If some little bug pops up, they'll update it. They're very responsive and very good. It's well worth to pay the $4.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, skip that coffee that day and just buy an app.
Support your developers, because without developers, we don't have apps. And right
Yeah.
now,
That is correct. And I mean, you can even save up your Bing rewards points or what have you, and you can get an app for free.
yeah, I mean that's what somebody mentioned in the comments of the Windows Central post. If you're searching with Bing, you're accumulating points, and you can use that to buy apps. So, just another great aspect of Bing rewards.
Yep, that is true.
You can do that stuff. So
Put it right back in the community.
Yeah, get your apps for free, support developers, and
everyone wins.
Yeah, it's really a great program. I wish Apple and Google, I mean, actually does that. They've got the Google surveys, and
okay.
You got the little survey app, and might be some silly question. When's the last time you went to Home Depot, Walgreens, or something?
Huh.
And how did you get there? Just answer a couple questions, and you might get 24 cents. You might get 18 cents. Sometimes they might give you $1. You never know what they'll give you for a reward. Tanya asks, do you know a good app builder? And I would say, which platform?
Yeah, that's a little broad, but I mean, I'm not too big on the developer stuff, so maybe you have a little more to say about. I mean, I know if you're talking Windows now, they have the new Visual Studios, and I forget what the other one was.
Yeah, you got all the Xamarin and apps, App Studio, where you can create your own stuff.
I mean, if you want to just toy around with kind of building an app, don't they still have the one online that you can do for Windows Phone? Where it's kind of a drag and drop your features and whatnot.
App Studio.
Yeah, I mean I think that's a good place to start, just to kind of get a feel for how an app would look, or
depending on the complexity you need.
Right. Yes.
So she has a client that wants an app built, and she just does websites only. Yeah, we can kind of talk off, because I mean I know there's some app studios that do things, like I mentioned, if you're wanting something for Windows Phone, Gateway Apps with Daniel Gary, his company could do the Windows Phone, and I know some Android developers and iOS developers actually here in St. Louis as well.
One of the cool things, though, just to kind of tie this in, if she only does websites, that's going to be excellent for Windows 10, because you can create an app out of that website now, and it'll be in the store, and you don't necessarily have to write like a full-blown app per se. You can just do your web developing, something you're comfortable in developing, and I think that's awesome. I know some people do not prefer those kind of apps, but I mean, for the developers, that's a great way to go.
Yeah, I mean, depending on what your website is about, like for example, I was at the National Wood Flooring Association convention here in St. Louis this last week, and you got these flooring companies, they don't really need a complex app or a complex website. So something like that, where you just really not necessarily a responsive website, but you just throw a little app, and doing like what you just mentioned is a perfect scenario for for those kinds of companies.
And they become universal apps once you kind of do the whole porting thing for Windows 10. So then it goes across the phone, and I mean, shoot, it could even go as far as Xbox if you're a registered developer for it. So kind of a big deal.
Yeah. One other thing real quick with Pocket Cast that I'm not sure if you've noticed yet is that you can pin podcasts to your start screen.
I did see that. Kind of wish. Now let's see. If I launch this, Oh, never mind. Must have been a different podcast app I was using on my LGG Flex.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it's Stitcher Radio. Every time you launch it, you actually have to go to your podcast rather than them being front and center.
Mm-hmm.
Unless there's like a setting that I didn't see. I just might have to play with it a little more.
Okay. Well, if you want to move into the app and entertainment picks, I know you've got a podcast in there.
Yeah, speaking of podcasts, so I'm a big Xbox guy. I really enjoy, using my Xbox as my main gaming driver, gaming platform, if you will. And I really, when it comes to gaming, IGN is just like one of the best places to go. And if you're an Xbox guy, Podcast Unlocked is, I think, one of the best Xbox podcasts out there right now, minus Major Nelson's Radio, because I do enjoy theirs as well. But it's led by Ryan McCaffrey, one of my favorite people at IGN. A little shout out to him. And they also have Mitch Dyer, Destin Legary, and sometimes Brian Antano, which is also on the PlayStation Podcast Beyond, the PlayStation app. So they've got apps for everything, or podcasts for everything, and they always have a great discussion going. They're about an hour long, and there's a lot you can learn, and they always give me a good laugh. So it's a good way to brighten up your day if you're into gaming at all. So check out either Podcast Unlocked for Xbox or Podcast Beyond for PS4, and any PlayStation news really. And they've got more than that. Those are just two that just kind of scratches the surface, but they're two good ones to start out at.
Yeah. So I'm going to look through my list here on Pocket Cast and trying to. There's so many good ones out there. Twit, Leo Laporte, they just relaunched Screensavers, so they just
that's right.
So that is now available. The new Screensavers is what it's
right.
Not just Screensavers, it's the new Screensavers. And as a wrestling fan, that more so growing up, I don't really follow the sport that much these days because it's just not the same anymore. The Ross Report with Jim Ross, he does some really good interviews with a lot of people that I used to watch. We got the Iron Sheik, Vader. He's done a nice interview with Shawn Michaels as well. So he's interviewing people that I used to watch and that I really know. So it's really good. It's a good podcast to check out. And Today in iOS is another good one that's actually done by Rob Welch from Libsyn, who he works with Libsyn, but it's a great one to keep up with iOS and mainly Apple news. A lot of good stuff on there. Those would be two that I would definitely recommend.
One other thing with the Pocket Cast is it seems like anytime I type in when I'm looking for a podcast, it always finds them. I never have to put in the link for it.
No.
Where I have had to do that with multiple other podcast apps. So
yeah, they pretty much find all your show. If it's
out there, they'll find it.
Yeah.
There's no backdoor way that you have to go about finding it. It's just there. So that's awesome.
Yeah. There's only one that I have to input in there, but I think it's just because the person that actually publishes it just doesn't really. He wants it out there, but he doesn't want it out there because it's a recording of a radio show here in St. Louis. That's the only one that I've got to manually enter the RSS feed into to find. But it's a great app. Great app. All right, so I think that pretty much wraps things up. I'd like to thank everybody for watching live and for listening to this afterwards, or if you listen to this afterwards, thank you as well. We definitely appreciate it. We're always, taking suggestions. Anything you might like us to have a kind of a themed episode where we'll cover, specific topic. let us, like a how-to kind of thing. Let us know. Hit us up on Twitter, at Tech Informist, or shoot us a message, contact at the Tech Informist via email. You can find me on Twitter at Kevin Harbell, and you can find Brad. Where can Brad people find you? I'll let you tell it this time.
It's at holy_shadows on Twitter.
All right. And if you would like to support the show, normally I don't, go around asking for all the support, but if for some reason you would like to support the show, you can visit thetechinformist.com/support, and all the information is there as well. So that pretty much does it, unless, Brad, you've got anything else you would like to throw in here as we...
Just a real quick birthday shout out to my sister, Janet, and then one of my good friends, Stan.
Nice. Birthday shout-outs.
Yeah.
And today is actually Robert Sherbet, who is going to be joining MS Mobile Show later today. It's his birthday today.
Oh, wow. All kinds of birthdays.
How he spend it is, spending it with Vernon and David. So
nice little Star Wars birthday.
Yeah. The fourth be with him as well. So, all right. Well, that pretty much does it for the show. I would like to thank everybody again for watching and or listening, or both. And look forward to talking to you again on Wednesday. And until next time, consider yourself informed. We are out.
Take care, guys.